In January 2026, the world was stunned by an audacious operation that shook the foundations of Venezuela and rocked international relations. Nicolás Maduro, the president of Venezuela, was kidnapped in a covert military operation so complex that even seasoned intelligence experts were left in awe. In this video, we'll break down the shocking details of how it happened, why it happened, and the fallout that followed. Let's go back to the months leading up to January 2026. Maduro, already a controversial figure, was facing increasing pressure both domestically and internationally. Despite accusations of drug trafficking, human rights violations, and authoritarianism, Maduro had held on to power since 2013. But his grip was slipping, and behind the scenes, the US was preparing for a dramatic intervention. The operation was meticulously planned. For months, the CIA and US military forces had been gathering intelligence, tracking Maduro's movements, and even setting up a network of informants within his inner circle. Reports suggest that the US had a mole close to the president, who provided real-time information about his whereabouts. In the lead-up to the operation, the US military designed a plan that included a combination of cyber warfare, aerial superiority, and ground force assaults. For months, the Pentagon and the CIA had been running simulations, preparing for the perfect moment to strike. In late 2025, the US sent warships to the Caribbean, increasing pressure on Venezuela. And then came the final trigger: the Trump administration's open criticism of Maduro's drug cartel ties, the declaration of a $50 million bounty on his head, and the eventual approval of Operation Absolute Resolve. January 2nd, 2026. Just past midnight in Caracas, the first sign of an impending nightmare for Venezuela's president came as a wave of explosions rocked the capital. Reports from multiple sources described the chaos that ensued as military-grade bombs targeted key infrastructure, including military air bases and communication hubs. Venezuela's defenses were shattered in the blink of an eye. And then came the key moment. Elite US forces, including Delta Force and the FBI's hostage rescue team, descended on Maduro's private residence in the heart of Caracas. The US military, using stealth technology and advanced weaponry, neutralized all radar and communications in the area. They attacked quickly and efficiently, and by 2:30 a.m., Maduro and his wife, Cilia Flores, were taken into custody without any immediate resistance. Now, this is where it gets fascinating. Several reports suggest that the US used cutting-edge technology to carry out the operation. According to eyewitnesses from the Venezuelan security detail, they reported an unnatural phenomenon in the air. Some claim it was a sound weapon, something never seen before in military operations. A discombobulator capable of disrupting electronic systems and incapacitating people with a powerful sonic wave. The result? Many of Maduro's guards experienced extreme nausea, dizziness, and even internal bleeding, rendering them completely ineffective in the fight. The technology used was so advanced that both the Venezuelan and US military officials remained tight-lipped about its specifics, making it clear that the operation was a test of new warfare capabilities. Maduro, the man who had long evaded pressure both at home and abroad, was now in the hands of US forces. He was captured with little resistance. As the mission was carried out, US helicopters hovered in the skies, transporting elite soldiers to and from the presidential complex. And within just 30 minutes, Maduro was airlifted from Venezuela, barely conscious and in handcuffs. His destination? A U.S. Navy ship off the coast of the Caribbean, the USS Iwo Jima. By 4 a.m. Eastern Time, Trump tweeted a photo of a subdued Maduro, blindfolded and in handcuffs, on the deck of the USS Iwo Jima, confirming his capture. The global reaction was swift and divided. In the US, conservatives hailed the operation as a triumph of justice. Former President Donald Trump declared it a victory against narco-terrorism and a necessary move for the stability of the Americas. However, the international community was far from unanimous. Russia and China condemned the abduction as a violation of Venezuela's sovereignty. The UN was immediately called into an emergency session, with many member states calling the operation an illegal act of war. Some world leaders even compared it to the infamous US invasion of Panama in 1989. Inside Venezuela, the impact was immediate. Maduro's capture left a power vacuum that would quickly be filled by his vice president, Delcy Rodriguez. However, there was widespread confusion and fear. The nation's military was put on high alert, and opposition groups saw this as a golden opportunity to step in. In the days following the abduction, protests erupted and civilians rallied, some in support of the fallen leader, others hoping for a change. The new interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, faced enormous pressure. The US had not just captured their leader, they had taken control of Venezuela's fate. But Rodriguez, with the support of the military, vowed that Maduro's fall would not end their revolution. The economic consequences were felt almost immediately. Venezuela's oil, which had been its lifeblood for decades, became a focal point of the US strategy. As soon as the operation was completed, Trump announced that American oil companies would be allowed to begin extraction operations in Venezuela, effectively taking control of the country's vast oil reserves. For the people of Venezuela, however, the impact was more profound. With the country now under a de facto US occupation, inflation soared, food and medicine became even harder to come by, and the political chaos escalated into a full-blown crisis. Some even feared that this was the beginning of a larger US intervention in Latin America. In the end, the kidnapping of Nicolás Maduro will likely go down in history as one of the most controversial operations in modern warfare. But the question remains, was it a necessary act of justice, or was it an overstep in America's pursuit of control in the region? The consequences of this operation are still unfolding, and the future of Venezuela and Latin America hangs in the balance. Thank you for watching. If you found this story fascinating, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more in-depth analyses like this one.